go ahead and get started.
Nice. Hi, everyone. It's lovely to see you. Thank you for Jeff and Ashlyn for inviting me to share some ideas with you this evening about cognitive science. So to start with, I'm going to get to my screen. Can people see that slideshow?
Yeah.
Or shout if you can't see that. Nice. All right. So if people could just like introduce themselves maybe in the chat and just say hello, where you're dialing in from, and what sparked your curiosity about this session and why you wanted to come. I'll introduce myself briefly. I'm Daniel. I am an agile coach. I just started a job at Government Digital Service, so I am a delivery manager at the Government Digital Service, but also I'm an agile coach and have been doing that for a few years. And over the last couple of years, I have been interested in this thing called cognitive science. Cognitive science is, I think, not a concept that a lot of people are super familiar with. So I'm going to use this session as an opportunity to introduce you to what cognitive science is and isn't, and where it might differ from other things that you may know about. I am going to share with you one particular lens on cognitive science that sort of encompasses the whole thing as a knowledge problem. That's this 4 P's of knowledge thing that we had in the title. And then how we can use that as a coaching tool in our agile teams that we work with, assuming that as Agile Mastery Institute attendees, you are interested in agile teams. So we're going to try and make it interactive. I am going to try and make it super accessible to someone who has not nerded out about this as long as I have. And if I fail to do any of those things, please tell me. Please like raise your hand or unmute yourself and say like, Daniel, what was that word? That would be much appreciated. There will be some options for participation, but there will also be some options for not participation. So you'll see if you want to go in breakout rooms and do stuff, there'll be ways of doing that. And if not, that will work as well. So don't feel pressured to do anything that you don't want to do in general and here. I will ask if you are not trying to talk to mute yourself as well, so it doesn't make me think there's a question. All right. What I'm going to ask is if you can. I'm just going to let's head to the chat and just see what some of the answers to that question. Yeah, learn some nitty gritty of cognitive science. We'll see how nitty and gritty we can get, Joris. It's nice to see you. Cognitive science. How can you apply aspects? Cool. Wonderful. Looking to learn some stuff. Agile Mastery Meetup rocks, and this sounds cool. Nice. All right, now the expectations are incredibly high. I am ready to begin. So what I'm going to do is show you a picture of something, and I just want you, without being too clever, to write in the chat what you think it is. yeah. So yeah, I thought that okay. Apparently, I have picked a famous picture of a cake, but my expectation was that at least for a moment, some of you may, non-cake aficionados, might have said that is a strawberry, and you would be delighted or maybe dismayed to discover that it's actually a cake. Yeah, a bunch of you got there quicker than I did. Okay, let me ask you a harder one. What color is this? This dress, what colors are they? Okay. Again, so some of you may be familiar with the cultural phenomenon of 2015, I think, that was the black and blue or the white and gold dress. I personally am on team black and blue. Like I think 60% of people. Yeah, it was that long ago. I looked it up last night. It was someone posted it when they were looking for a dress for their daughter's wedding, and then it. Yeah, there's a bit in the Wikipedia article where it says there were 14,000 comments, which for Tumblr was a lot. I was like, all right, Wikipedia, chill. In any case, this was the very strange phenomenon of people, in all sincerity, not being able to agree on whether this dress was white and gold. And some people were seeing it like that, and some people seeing it as black and blue. The answer was that the dress was, most people would agree, in normal light. black and blue, but there's something about the lighting and the sheen and the background that meant that a lot of people, depending on their eyes, depending on a bunch of other stuff, like you can go down the rabbit hole a little bit if you like, saw it in different ways. I'm going to come back to why these little experiments are interesting later. Finally, what I would like us to do is Ashlyn is going to invite you to a breakout room if you like. I'm hoping that about half the people will stay in this main room. So half the people are feeling more quiet tonight, and half the people want to go in a breakout room and say hello to people. But I'm going to ask you to get a piece of paper, or you can use the Miro board if you prefer in your group. And the challenge is, and if you know the answer already because you've seen it, maybe just like stay in the main room, or don't spoil it. Let people sort of work out the first time. The challenge here is there a way of joining these 9 dots with 4 straight lines without taking your pen off the paper? Okay, so you get 4 straight lines. You need to join the 9 dots, or you can put these 9 dots down on a piece of paper and joining them without taking your pen off the paper. Does that instruction make sense? Any questions? Are the breakout rooms ready?
Yeah, so people can select to go into them. So yeah, you should have an invite. You can select to join a room, or you can select not to.
Okay.
It should have popped up, hopefully.
Great. And what I would like is, even if you're in this main room, especially if you're still in the main room, like I want everyone to try and do this. So if you want to stay in the main room, do it by yourself. If you want to go into a side room, a breakout room, then do it in the group. Okay. Let's just set like a 90-second timer, and let's see if we can get that. I'll set that timer, and then I'll call people back afterwards. Cool. So if you head into the breakout rooms now, see you in 90 seconds.
Yeah, there's a few people joined. It's an optional thing. If you want to join, feel free. If you want to stay, you can stay.
But you are expected to try and solve the 9-dot problem. Okay, if you have solved it, keep it to yourself. Don't Google it, try and work it out. Joris has got it. Oh no, that's just you holding your thumb up. Okay, 40 more seconds. I don't know how long the timer is, Ashton, but we'll have to. If anyone's watching the recording back, you're also welcome to try and do this, whatever time in the future this is. I hope it's a peaceful time you live in. Alrighty. Yeah, we've got 20 seconds left. If there's a way of like forcing people back in about 10 seconds, let's do that. Is there one?
I can't, but I've closed them.
Okay.
I've closed the
Okay.
room, so hopefully
There's only a
the
handful of people
message.
there, right? Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, we've got 4.
Okay. My dream outcome would be that that only the people in the breakout room and the other like 25 get it, and the 25 people that stayed in the in the main one didn't. But that might be over optimistic. Okay.
Sorry, 20 seconds. I did close it at the 40-second mark. So
can we like message them and just be like, hey, come back? Or
because I've closed them, I can't.
Okay.
It's a feature.
Fine. In which case, we will just have to wait for them. So I'm gonna sort myself out, and I'm gonna stop sharing so we can see the camera. Let's see. Did people go to the breakout
Closed.
room?
Yep, it's all closed.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Everyone were people from that room back? I haven't found a less clunky way of doing this, but I'll brief it for next time. Okay. So if everyone could, when I count to 3, hold up your solution or as far as you had it, to the extent that you had one. 3, 2, 1.
Blurred.
Did anyone get it? So the challenge was without. So Mike, I like your thinking, but you weren't allowed to go back on the thing. Did anyone get it?
Okay.
Did anyone get it? No. Joris, you got it? Do you want to show us the solution?
We don't hear you, Joris.
Yeah, my audio is not working.
Oh, we can hear you now. Yeah.
So I didn't put it in paper, but I knew it in advance. So
Okay. Okay. So the solution is like this. La 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 la. You draw one line there. You draw one line there. Three. Oh no, balls. There, there. Let me do that again because that was a total disaster. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You basically start outside the box. You draw yourself a long line. You draw a. I really should have practiced this before trying to like do it in front of everyone and show off. You go
Daniel,
back there.
to make you feel even worse, maybe you can annotate because then we can actually see it on the board.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, I'm going to do it on the Miro board. Thanks, Helena. So if we go to, yeah, that's the one. Who just annotated that? That was great. Thanks, Jeff. So brilliant. So that's on the thing. Can people see? So basically the solution is you have to go, and again, like I'll share why this is like worth spending time on. So that's one line. Imagine that I hadn't taken the pen off. 2 lines. Meeting chat, get out the way. This is way harder on Zoom than I expected. 3, nope. 3 lines that go this way. Thank you. There. 3 lines that go there, and then the 4th line goes up to the top. Okay. If you didn't understand what happened there, then I'm going to just invite you to rather than watch me squirm on camera. Basically, this is the origin of the phrase "think outside the box." This was a puzzle from 1905, 1906. And basically what happens is when people are given this challenge, they see it as a connect the dots problem. Often, tell me if this is not correct in your experience, but you go, all right, I've got a box, I have to draw the lines, and I have to connect the dots somehow. And the solution is that you have to take a turn outside of the box. Like you've got these 9 here, and these are where the turns are. So why are we here solving 9 dot problems and looking at pictures of cake and all those kind of things when we're supposed to be talking about cognitive science and agility? Well, cognitive science is interested in questions of mind and intelligence, and it's science's answer to some of the questions that are raised by those little experiments I showed you at the beginning. So for example, for those of you that didn't know that it was cake and thought it was a strawberry, like fools like me, you might look at that and go, well, it looks like a strawberry. It fits my pattern of strawberry. What is this thing? Well, it's a strawberry, obviously. And the thing that's like fun about, the thing that I find fun about is it cake as a concept is that it messes with your perception of like this reality in front of me. Is it the thing that I expect, or is it cake? And cognitive science is interested in a scientific understanding of like how can we rely on our senses, and how can we build models of the world around us that are representative of the reality, so we can actually use that. So for example, if I put that cake into a fruit salad, it would probably be disappointing. Similarly, with the white and the dress with the stripes, that's a question of like color and experience, and there's a relationship between me and that dress in the world where the color is not, we think of color as being like a sort of fixed quality. Stuff is red or is black, but it totally depends on the context and the light. If I showed that dress to you in like blue light, the whole thing would come out as gray. The only reason why things have color to us is because of like the light conditions we're in and the assumptions that we have. People who are colorblind will see the world differently from us. So cognitive science is interested in these kind of questions, right? What's philosophical questions like what are people's experience of color? And when it comes to the 9 dot problem, cognitive science is interested in how people solve problems and how we take a end state that we're interested in and how we get there from the constraints that are available to us. So I'm going to show you a little diagram. Oh no, first of all, I'm gonna ask you one more. These things are quite abstract, but I'm going to hopefully move it into something a bit more relatable, which is just in the chat. Can you just share as many ways as you can think of making toast? They don't have to be like feasible or reasonable or legal or anything like that, but just ways that would get a piece of bread into toast. Yeah, fire, barbecue, garden weed burner, napalm, get my mother-in-law to breathe on it. Nice. Cool. And yeah, toaster. So again, like, and I'm going to use the toast example a little bit as we go on. There's arguably infinite ways of making toast, right? And if you try and stretch your imagination, you go, yeah, deodorant and a lighter, mother-in-law's breath. Someone always volunteers to like strap it to the bottom of a rocket as well. I don't know why. Just trying to bring up the screen so I can see everyone again. I've done something funny to my Zoom. There we go. Nice. However, if I asked you at home to make toast, you would probably just like go to the toaster or go to the grill or go to the oven. So again, cognitive science is the interdisciplinary study of like how do we go about solving problems in ways that are like quick and easy and efficient and get the right answer for the right thing. So I can't. I'm struggling with Zoom today. Sorry. Okay, so go back to the slideshow. So cognitive science is this interdisciplinary field, which is, and I pinched this diagram from somewhere from Stanford. A question like, how do I make toast? There's certain like philosophical implications of that. You need to have a multi-level analysis, right? So the philosophy of how do I make toast? You might ask a question like an ontological question, like structure of reality, like at what point does bread become toast, right? Or you might ask like an ethical, philosophical question, right? Should I make toast? Is it the right thing to do? It might deprive someone of good bread. Or an epistemological question, which is like the study of knowledge and how do I know about the world, which is like, how do I know when the toast is done? That kind of thing, like it smells like toast. Does that mean it's toast? Or maybe I'm wearing toast flavored perfume or whatever. Those are philosophical questions. So linguistic analysis of toast making might be, or maybe what I call, if I have many words for toast. If I'm from a culture that really like toast is very sacred, I might have like 1,000 words for toast. And actually, you know, what do you mean toast? There's 11 stages of toast. Or maybe like toast has certain implications in certain languages, and that will impact my meaning making, right? And there's ways in which we use language that the impact our ability to solve problems and to make meaning in the world around us. Anthropology is the study of culture, and maybe different cultures like will have different implications about toast. You know, for if you're from Scandinavia, maybe you put one thing on toast. If you're from India, you do something else with toast, or you make it in a different way. If you're from the States, you may have a toaster or a griddle or whatever. Please feel free to share your ethnic toast preference. That's not a phrase I've ever said before, but that kind of thing. So if I ask someone from one place or from one culture to make toast, they'll do a different thing, or they'll understand that question differently. I'm from Britain, so we have beans on toast and cheese on toast and other things as well, but those are the correct ways of having toast. Neuroscience is the study of like brains and nervous systems. So like, how does my brain process that request, and what happens in my neurons and my brain and the chemicals there when I go ahead and make toast? And neuroscience is interested in that, and artificial intelligence. Like if I was going to get an AI to get me to get toast, to make toast, I'd have to learn stuff about AI and intelligence in that way. So how does that come into our understanding? And finally, like psychology is about experience and the study of like human experience, human behavior, things like that. So I might want to know how did I learn how to make toast, or what did it feel like to make that toast, or something like that. So cognitive science is this interdisciplinary field that says if you're going to understand fuzzy, difficult concepts such as intelligence and mind and self and problem solving, all that kind of stuff, you need to have a multi-level analysis. And it takes from these disciplines and others and tries to understand the lenses through which we experience the world, through which we solve problems, through which we exist and are in the world. So cognitive science is this rich, fascinating discipline of like linguistics talking to philosophy, talking to neuroscience, and it basically would say each of these disciplines by themselves has certain barriers around it, right? So neuroscientists are only interested in brains and neurons and stuff like that, but you need to ask other questions as well if you want to understand a phenomenon as a whole. So that was. And does anyone have any questions about that? Like, can I explain any of that better? How does that land? Is that like wildly new or controversial to anyone? I'm assuming that, Jeff, when you said crisp outside, slightly soft under the toasted surface, was to the first question, not to the did that make sense question.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Again, like, please jump in if you're like, Daniel, what does that mean? What are you talking about? So part of what I've been doing over the last couple of years is learning about cognitive science, delving into some of the like steep, fascinating debates and literature about it, and trying to uncover, firstly, how it all works, but secondly, what would that mean for a team as well? So I, as an individual human, when I make sense of the world, when I like see a bottle and I grasp it and I drink from it and I make an active plan, and I see this bottle as like separate from the stuff around me, I go through certain cognitive processes. And when I work with teams, we're sort of asking them to do a similar thing, just at a different scale. We're asking them to take a slice of a user problem, or build a piece of software, or see some sort of user journey, or do some cool thing that is worth employing a bunch of people to get together and do. And we're asking them to solve this problem, which means they're doing a kind of cognition. They're doing a kind of they are a kind of mind, and they need a kind of collective intelligence to do that. So that's the big question that I'm asking at the moment, which is, how can we take the study of cognitive science, the study of mind, the study of intelligence, and apply it to a sort of team intelligence, a team mind? And there's like two ways you can do that. One is by saying, well, maybe if I get better at cognitive science, I can be a better problem solver myself, and then I'm more useful in my team. That's one way. And then the other way is like, maybe I can make my team like a better problem solver as like one entity. And then just what does it open up for us if we start asking the question like that? So instead of seeing our teams as 9 clever people, we see them as one clever mind made up of these components. And maybe we can lean on the research and the tools and the models from cognitive science to do that better. Okay. I'll pause again before we go into the next bit. Does anyone have any does that spark anything for anyone? Is anyone like, oh yeah, that resonates with the thing that I already know, or I'm interested in, or no, Daniel, you're being silly. You're missing something important.
Sounds good to me. That makes sense. Yeah.
Cool. Emily Weber wrote along these lines. Yes. Yeah, she did, talking about like team. Yeah, I saw her speaking about that Agile Manchester a few weeks ago. Team memory. For me, like there's loads of interesting stuff with like what happens if we use the concepts of our own mind and we start applying them to a team. Like, what is a team unconscious? What's a team consciousness? Like maybe just like when I go to therapy, I take the things that are in my consciousness that I'm aware of, and like my therapist will help me like take the stuff that's in my unconscious, the stuff that's impacting me that I'm not aware of, and like bring it to light so I can change it. Well, maybe like as agile coaches, our job is to take the unconscious bits of a team and like bring them to the team's consciousness so they can like put them out in front of them and do something with it. Like that's what a retro is. You're taking something that's in the team's unconscious and putting it into the team's conscious, or something like that. And yeah, team memory is a similar kind of idea, or things like that. So one of the missions that I have in this piece of work, and I'm calling it Agile on the Mind. That's my Substack and my podcast, which I seemingly can't go 5 minutes nowadays without talking about. I mean, to go into something that you find interesting at least. I want this stuff to be practical. So I don't want it to be like, oh, cool, I went to this thing and Daniel said a load of stuff and I used a lot of words and it was interesting and it made sense. And now my life is the same afterwards. So what I'm hoping for is to be able to take some of these ideas and like crystallize them into like coaching tools or into things that we as practitioners can actually go and use easily. So that they're sort of grounded in some of the theory of the science. And I'm not going to claim that like this is cognitive science, what I'm doing. Like it's not rigorous enough. Like I'm not going to go and like scan your brains while I put you in a retrospective or something like that. And I'm not deep enough into that. I wouldn't call myself a cognitive scientist by any means. But like, can we be inspired by this stuff to try and create frameworks that make sense and improve stuff in ways that are sort of self-evidently good? So I'm going to share with you a framework from a cognitive scientist that I like called John Vervaeke, and just play with it as a coaching tool and see what that opens up. So this tool is called the 4Ps. Get it? So the 4Ps are not like these kind of peas. These are legumes. Instead, the 4Ps are as follows. And I'm keeping the 4P terminology just because that's what he uses, and I kind of want to stay true to that. But I've also put some like simpler words for it as well. So it goes like this. John Vervaeke is a cognitive scientist based in Canada, University of Toronto, and he sort of summarizes all of cognitive science as falling somewhere within these 4Ps as a sort of helpful mnemonic. So we're going to start at the bottom of this hierarchy and like work our way up. Again, like I'll ask you some questions if you can like drop things in chat when you have answers to them. So he sees all of cognitive science through the lens of knowledge, right? If I ask you like what is something that you know, you might say something like, I know how to play the piano, or I know English, or I know that I am here right now. And those are all very different kinds of knowledge. I know how to be an agile coach. I know that I am an agile coach. Like these are all different categories. So we start with what we call propositional knowledge. So a proposition is like a fact. It's like a knowledge of that something. It's something about the world, something about myself, right? So like my phone is a Samsung is a proposition. So if I know that my phone is a Samsung, that's a propositional knowledge. If I say my phone is an Apple iPhone, that's also propositional knowledge. It's wrong propositional knowledge. It's an error of fact. It's a fiction, but it's still in that category of knowledge. You know, I wouldn't call that like a skill, saying that my phone is an iPhone. So how do we, this is a question for the chat, or you can unmute and shout if you want, talk at a normal volume. How do we go about gleaning propositional knowledge from the world? How do I increase my the amount of propositions at my disposal? So study. What kind of study, Ashlyn?
We could study books, and just like how you studied cognitive sciences, that could be a way. So you can get some study of that, or learn at school, learn facts at school.
Yeah, great. You study stuff, you absorb it, you find the propositions that other people have thought of, and you like put them in your own brain. How about like a proposition like, you know, or the question like, what is this bottle made of? Like that's not really in a book somewhere. Like how can I glean that? How can I find out like, or how would I discover like what it's not a trick question, like
reading what it's made of. Look it up, Google. Google the answer to everything.
Also, like I'll give you a like, who knows what my bottle is made of without having to Google it or research it? Metal, right? How did you know it was metal, Nick?
I guess by the top.
Yeah, you looked at it and it looks like metal, right? It's like it's sense data, right? Like I sense the world and I look at it and I get some, or you hear that noise and you go, that sounds a lot like metal to me. So this is that question of like, you know, how do I know like where I am, and the propositions about, you know, like this is sun cream. I didn't have to research that. I just like know what a bottle of sun cream like looks and feels like and smells like and feels like on my skin and stuff like that. So the propositional knowledge is like the knowledge we have about the world that we glean through our senses, or that we like glean through other people's senses. You know, I tell you this looks like this smells like sun cream. You sort of trust me, and then you and yeah, you only knew it was cake because of Netflix. Exactly. If you've never seen Netflix before, if I showed that to my grandma, it would be very unlikely that she would say that was cake. She'd be like, that's a strawberry. And also, why are you bringing this to me? And also, can I hold it? And no, grandma, you can't hold my phone because you keep pressing all the buttons with your fingers. That was an axe I had to grind, apparently. So getting out of my own psychodrama. So this is one kind of knowledge, and we use it all the time, right? So when I'm at work, I use propositions. What are some of the propositions I use in my team? Like, what kind of things might I say that would count as propositions, as facts or not facts about my team? Yeah, great. Their names. Thanks, Yelena. yeah, so like where they're from. But then like even when I'm running a retrospective, right? I might not have it as a proposition in my mind, like a retrospective has three parts. Right? That's like a fact that I bring to bear. Or my retrospective has three parts. Or I might have a list of powerful questions that I use. Those are that's propositional knowledge that I glean from reading Jeff's books and things like that. Okay, we're going to move to another level and see like where that contrasts with other ones. So this is the example that I think was thinking of here was like a cat is a mammal, is a fact. Okay, so then the next one up, like how do I know which facts to bring to any situation? That's the question John Vervaeke asked, right? There's like like a billion facts in my mind right now about the world. How do I know which ones are the ones to bring at the right time? Well, it depends what skills I'm bringing. So skills are like know-how. It's like it's not sort of abstract knowledge about the world. It's my ability to do stuff, right? So that's so skill is like if I say how do you play the piano and you go, well, do you know how to play the piano? And you like say, well, I just press all the buttons in the right order, all the keys. Well, that's not how you play the piano. You have to actually like play the piano in order to do it. And how do I learn that? Do I learn that by like reading the book on the piano? Like, no, I practice and I try it and I do it and I like build it into my muscle memory in some way. And there will be some facts that go in there, right? Like I need to know the names of the notes and I need to know how the keys work and all the scales and all that kind of stuff. But the actual like performance of that skill is a doing. So like this is like knowing like knowing how to stroke a cat in the way that it likes, like do I touch the tail? Do I not touch the tail? Do I, something like that. One of the mistakes we can make is we want people to have skills, but we just present them with facts, right? Has anyone ever been to a training that's about a skill that's actually just like a slide deck with lots of PowerPoint, points on it? Yeah, it sucks, right? And it might furnish you with some of the information you need, but you never like leave an Excel training that's just slides, like knowing how to do the thing. You have to like play with it and try it and do it. So this is another kind of level. So if I'm with my team, what are some of the skills that I might bring, or some of the procedural knowledge that I need to bring as a Scrum Master, or a delivery manager, or an Agile coach in my work, or that the people that I manage might need. Great. How to facilitate conversations. Great. Yeah. How to enable effective communication and collaboration. Yeah. Any others? How to coach people. Yeah. Maybe like how to stay silent in order to coach people. How to ask powerful questions. How to be open to change. Nice. Joris, I'm going to show you the next one and then ask like where your one fits according to the next one as well. Yeah, so this is the kind of knowledge that is done by performing and learned by practice. And it relates to these propositions as well, right? Like I can't know how to ask powerful questions without knowing a list of powerful questions. So the next level is what he calls perspectival knowledge. So a perspective is when I look at something from a certain angle and certain things become salient to me. So the word salient means like stick out in some way. So for example, if I am looking at this bottle from here, it's not a perspective that enables me to see whether it's full or not. So I don't know whether I want to like tip it over my head. Whereas if I look at it from here, then the fact that I can see the bottom of it without any water in it, like that's a better perspective. And it's, if you think about it, like from I should have put this in better. Yeah, there's this famous fable of like the blind people and the elephant trying to work out like what is this thing, and so one of them can touch the trunk. So they are like, I guess they're not seeing it, they're experiencing it from one perspective that says, oh, it's a snake, and the other one says it's a wall, and the other one's holding the tail and says it's a rope. Now these are all like reasonable perspectives given the information that they have. If they took off their blindfolds, they would say they would all say it's an elephant. Maybe only the one at the front would be able to say, oh, this is an African elephant, and maybe only the one at the back would be able to say like this is a male or a female. And the point is that like on any situation, on any topic, on any thing, there's a number of perspectives that we can take where certain things are salient to us. And it's not that like the person at the front is like better at elephant identification than the person at the side. They just have different perspectives on the same problem. So, oops, that's me. So, question from Volson: can procedural knowledge be seen as best practices? And worst practices? Like procedural knowledge is just the set of knowledge that is about like doing stuff, right? So I'm not saying this is like only good stuff in here. There might be terrible stuff in here, you know, like how to upset people and how to like offend my girlfriend is like procedural knowledge that I hope that I try not to deploy, and how to like influence people and do nice things and, you know, make a good change in the world. These are also procedural, but it's like a different category, you know, just like propositional knowledge can contain errors, right? This bottle is made of glass is wrong, as far as I know. But it's still propositional. It's still a type of knowledge that is different. You know, I wouldn't say this bottle is glass. That's not a perspective. It's not a skill. It's a fact. Does that make sense, Volson? Does that explain it? Go on, Joris.
Well, if I look at those three things, the top, as you mentioned, for me seems more relational based. That if you want to have things changing, that you're not on an island, you want, let's say, the opinions of the others to involve them, to also take them along instead of just top down deciding and then that they say yes, but they do no, something like that. So the change resistance in a way.
Yeah, you could maybe like draw an arrow, which is like at the bottom is like stuff that is like internal in some way, and maybe as it goes up, it gets like more external. The external bit becomes more relevant, something like that. Like skills are only kind of, this is a loose idea, but you know, skills are more useful like out in the world, and then
Like
perspectives are like
empathy,
really,
put yourself in the shoes of someone else, probably like that.
Yeah, I love that. And I guess like when I think about this kind of stuff in our work, like the perspectives I take on a problem is where I take exactly the same facts and I like look at them in different ways. So I can have a team and, you know, I know that like the retrospectives are very quiet. I know that one of the people is taking a lot of time on stress leave, and I know that the manager does a lot of talking in the meeting, right? So I could look at that from the perspective of, or you tell me like, what are a few of the different perspectives that I could take, you know, given that
being
knowledge.
aware of your own bias, that's also a big win already.
Yeah. And I think, I guess the question is like, my bias gives me a perspective, or it makes it easier for me to take certain perspectives. So if I've just been to the psychological safety training, right, and I've spent all my time reading about psychological safety, and then all of a sudden I see a team, I'll be like biased, you know, for good or bad reason, whatever. But I'm going to take a perspective on a situation that is through the lens of psychological safety. If I've just been on a different kind of training, right, which is about like systems and systems dynamics and whatever, I might take exactly the same information and look at it with a different perspective. Neither of those is right or wrong. They are just like different ways of chunking up the data and different ways of looking at the same elephant. And which one you take, I don't really care, but I just want you to know that you're doing that in one way or another, so you can choose a better one, or you can choose different ones. Or when you're feeling like your perspective is the only interesting one, like recognize like you are taking one slant on this particular situation, and there are others, and maybe yours is the one that will give you the results you want, but also maybe not. So I like this stuff because it sort of it releases me from being right about things. You're like, it's not that I'm right about it. It's that like I have a kind of knowledge and you have a kind of knowledge, and like we need to find a way of taking our kinds of knowledge and you know, coordinating on them, let's say, or not getting in each other's way. Whereas if I think that your knowledge about a situation is based on like propositions that are wrong, you know, you think there are 6 people in this team and I know that there are 12, then we don't have different perspectives. We have like one of us has got the propositions right and the other one's got them wrong. So again, this like hopefully can help you distinguish between those different things. Ashley says it also works for looking at problems, looking at it from various viewpoints perspective. Exactly, yeah. Like you can get more information through that, and that's the benefit of being in a team, right? That people get more perspectives. So in terms of this cat analogy, you know, a perspective on this cat could be this cat is about to attack me, and maybe that's correct. But also the perspective on this cat could be like it's afraid, or another perspective on this cat could be it's lost, right? None of those are all sort of true. Those are just like taking the information and cutting it up in different ways. Sound good? Are we ready to move on to the next one? Does anyone have any like questions or any sparks of Joy, from that? Yeah, that's a really nice question, Jeff. Yeah, what do you know about the situation that I don't know? It's a really nice question. Often when you really disagree with someone, like you're not necessarily disagreeing, you're just like being attached to your own perspectives quite strongly. And this is what I like about seeing a perspective as a kind of knowledge that the other person has that I don't is really nice. All right, I'm going to move to the fourth P, which is participatory knowledge. So this is like, as an agent, right, as like a thinking, moving thing in the world, I participate in the world in a certain way. And that's what John Vervaeke calls like this agent arena relationship. So like I am the agent and the world around me is the arena. And affordances are the things that are available for me to use in different ways. So like, when you say like, oh, that, I don't know, that taking the train affords getting there a bit quicker. I don't know if anyone says things like that. I've used the word affordances so much now that I've like forgotten that it's not like a normal word. I've gone too deep. I've gone off and taken the red pill. But like, there's nothing like fundamentally graspable about this bottle. The bottle is graspable because I have a hand, right? This bottle is just bottle shaped. It's just sitting there being its thing. Whereas the fact that I can have a relationship with it called grasping means that this bottle has an affordance to me called grasping. Like a chair has an affordance called sitting. A screen has an affordance called smudging, where I put my fingers on it. And those are all like, those are relational, right? It's not like I am a grasper. Like I'm only a grasper if there's things that can be grasped. So that's a little bit abstract, but it's like when I go into a situation, like what relationship am I having? Like what role am I playing? So if I am like cleaning the office, for example, I will have a different relationship with the stuff I see around me than if I am the owner of that stuff that I don't want to be cleared away. And similarly, like if you are seeing this cat, you'll have a different perspective if you are from like animal health or a vet, or if you are like a child, or if you're a parent, who doesn't want their kid to get scratched. So those would be different kind of ways of participating in that reality, right? So if I arrive at the scared looking cat, I am a vet, so that is my participatory knowledge. I know vet stuff. I know my role is to heal, right, and to like rescue cats and animals, right? So then that gives me different perspectives, and then we start working our way down, right? That gives me certain perspectives on that situation, right? This cat is maybe dangerous, but also maybe scared, but also maybe like rabid. It's got rabies maybe, or something like that. I'd look at it from a certain set of vet perspectives. Vet Perspectives is a program I would watch, and then that will like offer to me different procedures, right? So maybe I need to get that stick with the string around it, or maybe I need to like give it an injection, and those are like skills, and those skills will be dependent on knowledge that I gained in vet school and through my practice. Equally, if I'm a parent with my like 2-year-old there, and we see this cat like this, my role there is like carer for the child maybe, and I might have the perspective of like danger, in which case my procedures will be like run, grab the child and go, or like shout at the shout, get them out of danger or something like that. And then the propositions that will come in will be like how to run, or like or the propositions will be like how the names of the streets that we can get to, or like the location of my house, or the location of my like anti-cat bag, which isn't a thing, but it could be, like, oh, I've got an anti-cat bag in my pocket. You put it on, and then there are no cats anymore. Science. So that's the idea, is that whenever we have, and like often when we're coaching and we're working with teams, it's easy to jump into the bottom two, right? So here's the tool you should use. Here's the meeting structure you could use. Here's the skill you need to get better at. But we don't ask these higher level questions, which is like, hang on, which perspectives are you taking on this? Like what shaped problem is this for you? What role are you playing in this? Like at the highest level, like what are you here to do? And so what I am offering today for free is the opportunity to think about these 4 Ps as a kind of like, what would it look like as a coaching tool? So what I'd like to try is, we've got 40 minutes, which is nice. Yeah, I'd like to take everyone. I'm going to first offer one more question of like, does that participatory one make sense? Like, how do you understand that?
There's a question from Rich in the chat about whether it's if
Oh
then
yeah,
that statement.
It's all
yeah.
right
Can
to
you say?
say
I think the parent analogy was really useful, like seeing my sister recently with a new niece, like think about danger in the world. And, you know, you might be sat in a restaurant, for example, and her mind is thinking about very different things to I am when we're sharing the same experience in a restaurant. Like when you sort of said that, that sort of made that very abstract concept click for me much more. So yes, very good.
Thank you. Yeah, so like, you know, in that restaurant, like if my role, you know, three people could be seeing the world, seeing exactly the same things. One of them is a parent looking for like, I don't know, a danger or like a quiet place to breastfeed or like, I don't know, somewhere to like for the kids to play. And like someone else could be sitting there thinking like, what a lovely place to like sit and talk to people and to chat. And the waiter could be looking and going like, what a bunch of like ungrateful whatever. And you know, like those are those are all like perspectives on the same in the same fact, but they're based in that higher participation. Like, what is your role here? Or, you know, if I'm being more less cynical, I don't know, I put on my cynical hat today. It's the end of the workday. The waiter could be saying, how could I give these people a great dining experience? Something like that. Yeah. Any other like reflections or thoughts or questions about that idea before we jump into like using it as a coaching model? Alrighty. So what I'm going to ask is, does anyone have like a live problem, either in a team or like in their life or something that they are like thinking about, they're working on, that they would be happy to share and are like looking for a little bit of help with, looking for a different perspective? Was that Alexander? Did you put your hand up?
Yes, I have a question going slightly backwards a little bit.
Sure.
For the four types of knowledge, would you say that they are sort of exhaustive in respect to the kind of knowledge that one has, or is there, or is, let's say, the knowledge of those four types of knowledge also gives another perspective?
The
Because
meta knowledge.
yeah, a sort of
Yeah.
meta knowledge. Because I mean, I see two things, and they relate to a specific issue with my team. But I see two things. One is that it's not always possible, of course, for everything to have all those types of knowledge. Even the knowledge we might have for something might be partial. For example, we collaborated with a person partially in specific tasks. They have the skills, everything works fine. Then you switch to something different, and you get a completely different perspective. So on the one hand, I see that there might be gaps in the knowledge in those four types of knowledge, but also at the same time, when putting the four together, or the two together, or the three, or as many as we have, they might there might still be gaps, or there might even be conflicts. So I don't know how much this fits, but my issue is a little bit like that, you know, getting to know people on specific terms and specific conditions and contexts, and then when you have as a team to move to something else.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what we could do, would you be happy to like use this particular situation to like talk through and see what it offers? Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's try it and see how.
I think that, you know, it's relevant to others as well. I mean, yeah, so I'm happy to do.
Yeah, I think the experience of like having a team and like there being different things that we don't know or things that we're assuming, and then like not knowing where it all fits together. Like, yeah, that's kind of what this is for. Because my my hope or my guess is that, like, you know, before this session, you would have said, hey, there's a bunch of stuff I don't know and it's frustrating. And now you can be like, oh, interesting. Like, I know quite a lot about like the procedures they're using and the propositions that they're hanging on to, but like I don't really know anything about like their roles or something. Like, great, that's the point. So that it opens up that question. So what I'd like us to do is I'm going to go to this Miro board. You're welcome to also go to the Miro board, or you're welcome to just like look at it from this screen. Yeah, am I in the board? Yes, I am. Okay. So Alexander, can you like So the situation that we're gonna like role play here is like, I'm Alexander's coach, and Alexander is like, oh, I've got a problem that I want to handle, and I'll go, okay, let's see if we can run it through the 4Ps and like see if that offers anything that we want that we couldn't get without the 4Ps, and let's get there. Okay, so can you like what's the situation?
I'd say there's three points, if you want, issues, whatever you want to call them. One, we have a team which is composed by very capable people. We know that.
Mhm.
We've worked with them extensively for at least 1 year. Some of them are newer than others, but overall the team has been around almost a year. They are very capable in what each of them does. They seem to get along with each other. They seem to be able to, independently work and then also bilaterally work. That's what I would say is the second part. So I'm not sure what the first would be. Probably the participatory knowledge in terms of the roles that they have within the team all seems to be well.
Okay.
If I understand correctly, then also
Well, maybe for this sake, let's assume that you haven't seen this 4Ps thing. I just want you to tell me about like what's going on for you, and then and then we can see if we can like fit it into that, if that makes sense.
So capable people, also capable of working together, at least in smaller groups, 2 or 3s. The team is around 15 people, 12 to 15. Then when things get more sophisticated, we see 2 things. One, I would say, not a little bit the inability to sort of split the work between them. What I would say even more worrying, the effort of at least some to sort of to be free riders, if you want. Okay, let's see what we can sort of scoop under the carpet, or somebody else. It can become somebody else's responsibility, which was not at all evident when working in the smaller groups.
Okay, so this is in a bigger group. It feels like some people are just sitting back and not doing anything. Okay, might be
doing
like
everything, definitely doing something, but definitely at the same time not as much as one would expect. Corresponds to them. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go like this is kind of handy. So we've got like should we focus on you or should we focus on the team? Right, because we can look at it like from what role is the team playing, and we'll look at it down from there, or we can look at it from like what's your job here? What do you think has most?
Prefer the team because I'm not so much involved in the particular team. I'm
Okay.
more sort of interacting with them because I need their work, but otherwise they are self-managed. They have their own manager and they have their own respective responsibilities.
Okay, so is your like what would be a good state for you here? Like what would be a good outcome?
I think there's 2 things. One, of course, there's, if you want, the ethical part, the aspect of justice, if you want.
Okay.
And the other is, of course, that I want everyone to feel that they are getting and putting as much as that corresponds to them in a reasonable manner. Otherwise, at least a few of them will be, they will be unhappy. They might leave. So, this kind of reasonable breakdown of responsibilities is, at the end of the day, something which is also good for the team.
Okay, so this is like other people in the team are feeling annoyed because they're like, why is that person sitting back and doing nothing when I'm busting my ass? Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, So other people feel like the people working harder, it sounds like. The people visibly working harder. I'm trying like we don't need to get like too locked down in it, but like
That's an interesting idea, because I was reading an article the other day about it, that a lot of people, the visible part and the actual part are two different things. And everybody is busy. Everybody's moving around, moving papers around, if you want.
yeah.
Nobody's really sitting. But what is they are actually doing once you go into it, which is not so much, is not always evident. That's another thing. But it's clearly at the level of initiative, at the level of responsibility, at the level of practical results, it's clear that the team is not well balanced, let's say, in terms of the breakdown of work.
Okay, cool. So just to like step back out of like the particular question and just like talk through what I'm doing here. This is in this like first stage where I'm just trying to understand like what the problem is, so that I can like help Alexander like bring the right stuff, and so I understand the situation. Okay, let's see if it works with the 4P model. Like I said at the beginning, like I'm trying this stuff out for the first time over like a series of workshops and stuff like that to see what kind of things can work here. So I'm kind of curious. I'm going to draw a line here, and let's see if that's a useful line, which is between like what knowledge you have here, because actually I think that is, you can't get away from that to some degree. Like as the person here that wants to make an intervention, there'll be don't do that. Go away. Right. Thank you. Miro, don't do that. Okay, I'm going to draw a box. There's going to be like there we go, janky, but fine. There's going to be like Alexander, and then there's going to be Alexander's team. And let's just see if that distinction becomes useful. The team. So what is, let's work top down with the team, right? Like what role does the team have from your perspective and how you can see it? How are they? What are they there to do in the world?
They are, let's say, integrated communication team handling the organization of activities. Let's say, call them events, projects, whatever you want. The content which goes into those activities. So if it's a conference, they handle the content, and the promotion. Okay, so they also handle the, if you want, PR or whatever you call it, outreach, let's say. This.
Okay, so they have some content and they go and they have to promote it. Okay, so there's like so
meaning that there's different how do you call it, skill sets, different disciplines within, but at the same time, each one depends on the other. One has to create the content, and then that content has to actually be put out there.
Okay, and these are for events. This is like what, like websites and
also bringing other people together, but they are the ones that make the program. They invite the speakers. They put the organize the whole. That's why I would say there is at least one more skill set here. So it's the organizational part, the content part, and the promotional part. So I'd say three different skill sets, if you want.
Okay, so I want to make sure that I've got that right. So they are like organizers. They are promoters.
Content, yes. They are promoters and they are content developers.
Content, yeah, developers. Okay, great. So just a bit of like, what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to find words that are Alexander's words and not my interpretation of them. So, okay, so they've got the organizers, the content developers, the promoters, fine. So from each of their perspectives, then, like what perspectives do they have on this problem? And maybe, so you mentioned there's like a group that seem like they're a little bit less visibly busy or a bit visible. Is it like one set of skills within these that is like the issue as far as you see it?
Well, no, each one of them, there is no, how do you call this? The issues are not, let's say, a monopoly of any of the three.
Okay, so it's like some of the organizers, some of the content developers, some of the promoters might be. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so what perspectives, right? What angles of the problem might be relevant to these teams?
Well, maybe two things. One is what we, as let's say, as the clients, if you want,
Mhm.
call us the clients, want to get out of it. That's one perspective. We want things to work in the best possible way as the end result.
Okay, so there's like a bunch of there's a bunch of outcomes that you want, and these might be really relevant to these people and like really
Exactly.
salient.
Then there
Okay.
is what they want to get out of it, if you want, even as professionals and salaried people,
Mhm.
individually. Okay, that I would say is another perspective. The level of
So
ambition they might have as professionals is also important there.
okay,
And
is this
finally,
right? Go on.
Mhm.
So is it right to say like what the team individually are ambitious about, something like that? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Individually is important because each person can be visible, so it might help their career, it might help their next project, even if they don't move out of the team. It will help them within the team, and it will help them in the next projects that they may do, either with this or
Mhm.
another team. And finally, of course, the team itself, I would say, is a perspective. How the team can become better as a living organism. That the next project is better, not just because some of the players are individually better, but the team itself is better. You know, this Brazil against Germany. Okay, so
Yeah.
in football, for example. Okay, so that's
So
also important.
so is that, have I put it right that like looking at like the team like trying to find opportunities to improve?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm wondering if it would make I'm wondering if it would make sense to like take it more to like one specific person and see like what so either like you and your role with this situation, right? Or someone else that you think has a role in this situation, or maybe like one of the people that is like one of the freeload quote unquote freeloaders. And again, freeload one of those freeloaders is like a perspective, right? That's one perspective.
Yeah, it's not sure it's very easy for one to go into, somebody else's mind in their shoes.
Yeah.
Um, Perhaps others at any time might jump in and say, we've seen something similar. I
Yeah.
know a guy
Yeah.
like this, whatever. Clearly, but I mean, from my perspective, I have the impression that there are some people, at least younger, most usually, who are seeing each of their employments as a stepping stone. So they say, okay,
Hmm.
next year I will be somewhere else. So I don't need to exhaust myself here. I just want to be good enough so that I can then move on. That might be, if you want, so the ambition is not within the team. So also the priority is not within the team. But again, I'm just an observer of this, as if you want
Hmm.
a client. But I want to work with this team over the years. I've seen changes, and I would very much like this team to improve. And
Yeah.
this is something that I noticed. Let's say I would say the last 2-3 years, not more. If you want, when Generation Z has entered into the workforce without wanting to make it so specific, because I don't think it's just a matter of the age of the people. It's more a matter of if you want the mentality that has entered the workforce.
Yeah. Okay. So I am going to put you in here because like it seems like the question
Mhm.
here is like, what do you do next, right? Or like, where do you fit into this? So I've like you mentioned a role here, right? You are the client,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and you said something else, which is a perspective. And also, if you have you, not me or Alexander, people are noticing stuff that you think could go in here, like please at this point just like jump in when you
Mhm.
have it. Well, I'm just going to finish the sentence, which is you want to keep working with these people, right?
Yes, and I want the work to be easier each year and better each year. Okay, easier for me to collaborate with them, and they being better in what they do. And by the way, it's not even an issue of money. I don't want them to be cheap. I don't mind that as long as
Yeah.
this is important. Okay, we are offering. We need a premium product, so we are willing to pay premium money. We are paying premium money, but for this, I also expect that this team will be getting better, and next year we will be able to do things even better without reinventing the wheel in certain cases.
Yeah. So maybe like another perspective here is like I put in here like some people are not doing as much as you want, right? Like that is or I don't know if that was like from an earlier way that we put it, but it's like
it is in the sense of initiative. Okay,
yeah.
when I have a communication team, I expect everyone to be offering me ideas to choose from. I don't want to have to give ideas. They should be able to give them, and I should be able to choose. So if their idea is not good, I will have to provide the ideas, which is not what I'm looking for. It's not my intention.
Yeah. So it's like I don't want to be providing the ideas here.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the initiative and the creativity are important, and these are the things that can't be done in a business as usual manner. This is what I would say at the end of the day is the perspective. Okay, if you're just doing your job, you cannot be really creative. You cannot be really going the extra mile. You cannot really be bringing initiative and innovation to the whole thing. And this is part of what we need.
Jeff, you mentioned a sense of fairness. Can you see where does that fit into this?
I remember Alexander saying he wanted a sense of justice and fairness, whether that was his perspective or whether that was the perspective of one of the people on the team. But it sounded like there was a perspective of unfairness.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's what I think is the perspective of the individuals within the team. The ones that are doing more work, they may not be seeing the situation as fair. So again, I'm an observer in respect to this.
I see. Okay, so there might be like a question there, which is like, what is that that's a perspective, right? Based on some of the things that you've seen or the experiences you had, and like that might be what they're experiencing, or it might not. That's something that jumps out of me there. It's like, oh, that's a unless you tell me that they've told you that and they're always going on about it and they're rolling their eyes all the time, and that's it. I don't know. That's like a starting point there. Okay, so if we're thinking about like what I'm thinking, maybe to go like deeper into one of these on the Alexander side of this, right? Which is like, which of these feels like you've said there's like two goals here, right? One is people visibly working harder and feeling justice, and then there's like ethically it just feels better. But it sounds like we want it to feel better for you, right? As well as for them. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm just clarifying. Is that what it is?
Yes. It's. I mean, it's my ethical perspective. That's fine, but also I want them. I mean, I expect that there are practical aspects as well.
Yeah.
Part.
So, okay, so I'm going to make a guess here and tell me if it's correct, which is, in the role of client, it might be hard to like ask this from the team because it's like not really your thing, right? Like in theory, if I'm paying you and you're giving me the thing, and like I can just go somewhere else, right? Because I'm your client. But like, we stay in your lane, client, is how I might feel as the client. That I might have to stay in my own lane. Is that reasonable?
Yes, I don't want to trespass into the team at the end, because then I might offend someone. There are or managers, or everything. Yeah. So yes.
So I wonder if that's an interesting starting point, right? So as a client, right, there's certain these are the perspectives that I might have, but the skills or like the actual actions that I can take as a client are limited, right? I can like, I don't know, I can. You tell me what they are, like in your mind, like what are the available paths?
I think I can talk to a couple of people with whom I might have a more personal, how do you call it, familiarity.
Like a good relationship. Yeah.
So just go and have a coffee something like this. Being very careful what,
Yeah.
but and then also to not. Yeah, that's one thing. I could talk to the manager, but then
Yeah.
I'm afraid that this, can cause another issue.
So this is like raise it with
No,
someone's manager.
We know, I mean, that I'm telling them how to do their job, which is not my intention.
Yeah.
And of course, I also don't want to too much give the impression that I'm not happy with the work, because I am. They're a good team, but I'm sure that they can provide more. They can be better.
Yeah. Nice. So I'm going to ask, like, and this doesn't feel like a good option, right? Maybe I need like a way in this model of like modeling like sad face. So I'm wondering like what, and then maybe like downstream from that, there'll be certain like propositions, places you can go for coffee, or I don't know, ways you can have that conversation. But I'm wondering if we go to those higher levels, right? That's where like the bigger lever points are. I'm trying to find a sad face, but struggling under pressure. What other roles might there be? What other like ways of participating in this situation might you have? And I'm curious what other people think. Well, like listening to this, you say, oh, as a client, there's only certain perspectives that are afforded to me, and maybe actually, like as a client, like another perspective you have is what you said is like, I don't want to feel like there's like a I don't know, like fear of trespassing. Yeah. So that's maybe I need a better way of organizing this, but yeah, like a fear of trespassing is there. That's a perspective. What other participations might you have here that could give you different? What other roles could you have that might offer different perspectives?
Could I ask to just give me a minute while others also contribute? Perhaps I'll have to leave at past sharp, so I need to just make a call to arrange this.
Great.
So I will, yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, other people, having heard this, what do you what comes up for you?
Yeah, so you could probably look at it the perspective of, like he is a paying customer. So, they obviously have other paying customers. So what other perspectives could he use to help from that? Or is there a feedback mechanism for our customers?
Okay, so like this is that I'm just going to move this so it's easier to fit all these post-it notes in. La 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 la. So this is what a perspective that he is a paying customer. I wonder if like paying.
Or sorry, is a role. Sorry, it's a role that he is.
Yeah.
I suppose it's clients, the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
So the perspective.
So go on. So what would that perspective offer?
Yeah, so if you sort of put yourself in there, your perspective could be, I want to make sure that I'm getting the most value for, I think using the words that you did say, Alexander, you said, we're paying a premium price. We want a premium outcome. So, even taking that perspective for, what's premium. So, for them, the premium perspective, and then like going down to like how could we maybe articulate what our expectations would be better. So how could we, going down to the skills, and how could we articulate those expectations around premium? At the end of the day, it's just as a customer saying what you want. And then the facts could be, what are some of your facts around what that means? What does premium mean to you? How would you define it?
Yeah, because it's I like Ashling because it's and I'd be interested to know how this lands with you, Alexander. Is like that this is still within the same role as client, but it's saying like, well, the perspective is like premium price, premium outcome. So that means that like the skill I bring here is like demanding or whatever, like getting what I pay for. So this would be like overriding it, right? It'd be like, yeah, I know you have a fear of trespassing, but like, so I'm not saying you have to do this. Obviously, this is just like, I wonder what happens if we like weight the other ones. We've got some interesting things in the chat. Nick says it's Nick. Do you want to just tell us what you were thinking with yours?
Finding the button. But I'm thinking like, I don't know, it's hard to renegotiate these things, but if I'm thinking what are the mechanisms that you can use to get what you want out of you as the client? And I'm wondering if the one way to do that is through a contract. So I don't know if there's something in saying like the type of quality or the amount of quality or something like that needs to be renegotiated. I'm trying to think what are the mechanisms that you might have as a client. It's really, I think it's also really difficult to change that that role. So I'm wondering what things you can do as that role.
Or even like what ways, like that makes me think of, you know, if I'm a client with someone, I go, I want to have a relationship with you in the future. I've had a relationship with you for a while. Well, that means that like I'm trying to like that biases me towards things that are relationship building, right? Well, what if I see myself as like a purchaser or a negotiator, which are they can overlap with each other. But if I say like maybe that offers, maybe that's kind of what Ashlyn was getting at. Like, you know, I'm actually a purchaser or a negotiator, in which case like premium price, premium product, please. In which case, like the things that I would get from that are actually more about like demands and being clearer. You know, and that's like a whole sort of path while you're still obviously a client and something like that. Is that kind of what you meant, Nick? Sorry, I keep asking you to me. Yeah.
The other thing was, can you do something informal like being a mentor? I know that's complicated because you then are in two different places, but if you're spotting issues with the organization, it depends on also your emotional connection to the organization as well. Do you want to help would be the question. Is it in your interests?
So as a mentor, what kind of perspectives, if we were going to like run this down, the P's? Yeah.
Well, yeah. So Alexander, you can obviously see the issues, or you can see some issues, and coaching, mentoring, something along those lines, imparting your wisdom.
How does that land with you, Alexander?
Yeah, what Aislinn wrote, I'm sure I pronounced it right. A collaborator is definitely a perspective in the sense that at the end of the day, I have my own clients, and I want us to offer together something which is premium. As I said, for what is premium is something that stands out, something which is unique, something which is remembered, you know, not something which is not one of the crowd, if you want. And to offer this, we want really optimal outcome from the team, optimal collaboration from the team, so that each person gives their best, if you want, puts their best in it. So collaborator is definitely a perspective that we try to have with all our suppliers, and I would say this is such a case definitely. And the logic of mentor, I would say, it's a little bit an aged issue. Definitely much older than most of them, but at the same time, they are so much more into social media stuff and all these technologies and all that, and it's very difficult to give any kind of advice, if you want, because it's for them as if we are in a different world that I don't understand. Okay, so yeah,
that's interesting, because
I would say collaborator is probably sort of, how do you call it, servant leader, if you want, which is not possible since I'm a client, but this would be sort of gradually.
Well, I guess my question would be, you say it's not possible because I'm a client, but like, isn't it? Like, I guess that's part of this exercise, right? Like, if I see myself as a client, I fulfill my expectations of what client could be. And what if we extend it and say, you can be a client, and as part of that, you can be like a mentor, or you can also be a collaborator, or you can also be a negotiator, whatever. These are all different hats within that. Thanks, Nina.
Good point. I am limiting myself by taking the role of client.
Yeah.
Or just the role of client, if you want. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, or like a narrow like a certain, no, I'm not going to say narrow, but like a certain definition of client. And I guess that's what this exercise is. VK, you had a point. I wanted to make sure we get to that. You said if go on. Do you want to explain your point, VK? And we're going to spend 2 more minutes on this, and then we're going to go to like wrapping up and finishing off because I want to finish at past. VK, what was your point there?
My point was that since he cannot say to them, you should do that and that, since he's a client, he's not the team leader, he could just ask the team leader, what's going on? I've seen some changes. Do you mind if I give you some feedback? Because if he just gives feedback, no one will take it kindly. But yeah, just ask around, see what's going on, and then it will, the information goes around the team anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll change it. They'll adjust.
Great. So what role would that put Alexander in? Like if we're going, let's work down those P's, right? Like what role would he be in if he asks a question like that, or if he engages like that?
I think, the role of long-term collaborator sort of warrants something like this. Okay, we've worked together for, I don't know what, 2-3 years at least. We are growing, you're growing. Maybe I could even shift it around and say, how has the collaboration been this year? Are you happy with it? Sort of ask feedback from my part as well. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
If it works.
Yeah, that's nice, VK, like loyal clients. There's a different thing. And maybe it's like, what does the word loyal mean here? Maybe loyal here means like telling you things you don't want to hear. Okay, I'm gonna step us out of this so that we have enough time to like summary up. Alexander, what within this was like new, and was there anything here that was like, I hadn't thought of that before? You can say no. I won't be. My feelings won't be hurt.
I would say just the mapping of it already is a very interesting way of noting things and seeing things and looking, setting a different perspective. So already, even if there is not a direct route to a solution, just looking at things from these different perspectives, I think for me is really very useful, and putting them all together there. So very interesting questions to ask if you want.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks everyone for like jumping in with that. Like, I think that's kind of what I want from this tool, is it gives you a model to be like, all right, here's what the problem feels like. What does it look like? Is this like sitting in the proposition level? Like probably this doesn't feel like this. It doesn't feel like Alexander's missing like some facts or some information, right? Or some like resources. It's more like what role do you want to play before you get down to that? And maybe other roles that we didn't talk about could be like observer or questioner or like whatever, and we get to play with these like this, and then see what comes down. Okay, nice. So if you haven't been able to tell, this is like work in progress stuff, like how to use these ideas and how to actually play out practically. So I'm very keen for some feedback from you guys. So I'm going to just sum up these 4 levels here, just so that we finish off, and then I'm going to ask you to leave a little feedback on the way out after I obviously try to get you to subscribe to my Substack, because that's my main thing nowadays. But yeah, so we've got these 4 levels of knowledge we spoke about, that are sort of a summary of cognitive science, which is we start with a role, with certain relationship with a situation, a problem, the world, that gives us certain perspectives, which then offers us different procedures, different skills that we might use, and then we will rally certain facts to us. We should take into account all of these levels when we're thinking about how to engage with a problem and how to help our clients. So I'm writing about this stuff. I'm podcasting. I've got an episode with Dave Snowden coming out on hopefully Thursday or Friday, basically trying to explore what's available here for our teams. I'm writing a book called Intelligent Teams as well, that's going to be based on this kind of idea. If you like this, if you've enjoyed this, you might enjoy my Substack, where I send out weekly letters and newsletters with podcasts or blogs. I realize that a newsletter and a podcast and a blog are all 3 different things, but you know what I mean. You get a weekly thing. Cool. What I would love, is if you can fill in this bottom bit. What did you like? What did you not like? Do you have any suggestions for me? Help me run this session better. What do you think would be a cool avenue for me to explore with this? And I'm going to hang around for a few more minutes. I know we have to finish at past, so I don't want to hang on to us there. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Daniel. And you're very brave doing that live coaching session as well. That takes a lot of guts to try something new and experiment with it as well. So guys, just to say that we have a session on the 11th September. It's going to be up shortly on the site. We are going to take a short break over the summer. We might get a surprise speaker in the form of Jeff over the summer. It's not really a surprise to you guys now, but yeah, we might get a surprise